In the outfield, left to right, and the catcher is Mercado. As the Mets take on the Cincinnati Reds. The umpires for the game today: Eric Gregg behind the home plate, Doug Harvey, the umpire at first base, Jerry Crawford will be calling the plays at second, and Dana DeMuth will be the umpire at third.
Eric Gregg just back from Duke University, where he was trying to shed some weight and did shed some weight.
And the first pitch of the ball game, a breaking ball for ball one. Billy Hatcher, the batter. He has 18 infield hits, 6 of them bunts. And there's Eric Gregg, who is the author of a new book that is out right now. And this pitch, a fastball that's popped up into shallow center field. Carry on coming in, making the call. And he makes the catch. So Hatcher, the first out of the ball game. Hatcher doing a great job for Cincinnati after coming over from Pittsburgh. So one away, and Barry Larkin, the batter. Larkin 2 for 14 so far in this series, now hitting at .317 for the year with 2 home runs. He has 36 RBIs. And as Tim pointed out, this fellow might be the best shortstop in the National League as he hits a soft liner to the shortstop Kevin Elster, who is in his same class as a defensive ball player.
Not only the National League, some think he's the best shortstop in baseball, and I'm one of them. I mean, there aren't too many guys who could do any more than Larkin. He hits for power, even though he's got only 2 home runs this year. He does have pop. He can run, good arm, can field. There's not many more things left.
And he's still young.
Yeah.
Tony Fernandez might be considered to be an outstanding shortstop in the American League. I haven't had a chance to see him play, but I sure read a lot about him. And now Eric Davis, who's on a hot streak, and he takes the first pitch for ball one.
I think defensively, Fernandez might be better, but not all around.
And Davis gets another breaking ball and pops it up into shallow left. A long run for McReynolds into foul territory. He has to pull up to keep from crashing into the wall, and it goes out of play. Davis in his last 14 games with 7 home runs.
A lot of power hitters, because outfielders play so deep, have second life on plays like this. Had McReynolds been playing for a guy with not a lot of power, he'd have been moderately deep and would have had a shot at that ball. It landed 1 row back.
Davis with 2 home runs in this series, and one of them a mammoth home run. He has that explosive power a la Darryl Strawberry, and they were high school buddies. And there's a pitch in there for a called strike. Takes the fastball. Davis, a slow start this year, hitting .246 with 11 home runs, 34 RBIs. And a split finger fastball gets him. So 1-2-3 inning for Ron Darling. And the score at the end of 1/2 inning, the Reds nothing, the Mets coming up, and here's a word from Hess Oil. Here at Shea Stadium, no score for the Reds. The Mets coming up, and they'll be batting against Danny Jackson, who has a record of 2-2, an earned run average of 3.71. He's walked 21, struck out 23, given up 53 hits in 51 innings.
And the lineup for the Mets: Howard Johnson, Mark Carrion, and Greg Jeffries at the top of the lineup. Greg batting third again. Darryl Strawberry hitting fourth. Kevin McReynolds batting fifth. Mike Marshall, the first baseman, in there today, hitting sixth. Kevin Elster at short, batting seventh. Orlando Mercado and Ron Darling, 8 and 9.
And Danny Jackson with a record of 2-2, working to Howard Johnson. And the left-hander's first pitch is in there for a called strike. Johnson brings a 9-game hitting streak into this game, hitting .324 over the 9 games. Overall average at .236 with 12 home runs, 41 RBIs. 4 for 11 in this series with the Cincinnati Reds. And the fastball is fouled back out of play. And it hits right below our broadcast booth for strike 2.
That was close.
That was very close. Closer than I want to see.
You were ducking again, weren't you?
Well, I lost sight of it right up here.
Don't duck the question.
I'm ducking everything. Questions and balls.
Tell you, I just can't stand the thought of being hit by a baseball again.
I got hit once up here, and that's the only time I haven't hit. George Foster got me one time on the arm. Oh. When those things come back from up above, you can't tell whether they're going to come in here or not.
I know. The scariest one was when the ball came back and almost got you at Wrigley Field. It blew that wind out right next to you.
Broke all the glass there.
Yeah.
Shattered. The glass was flying all over the broadcast booth.
Some people think this is a safe job.
2 strikes to count to Howard Johnson, and he takes outside the ball. Incidentally, they never did fix that glass, but they did do this. They built a new press box.
That's right.
At least we're up there where they can't get us now. They're so high up. Now the 1-2 pitch back. Grounded slowly out to the third baseman, Quinones, and the throw to first base for the out. So Howard Johnson, the first out for the Mets. The Reds defense at first base is Ken Griffey. Second baseman is Duncan. Larkin at shortstop. Quinones is at third base. Hatcher, Davis, and O'Neill in the outfield, left to right. And the catcher is Reed. And that'll bring up Mark Carrion. Carrion 2 for 7 in this series with a .272 average this year, 8 home runs, 16 RBIs, and he takes a fastball for ball 1.
I would think Carrion would give a guy like Danny Jackson trouble because Jackson throws that slider down and in, and Carrion an inside hitter. Doesn't always work like that. This is a dangerous hitter for Jackson.
And the fastball hit into shallow right field. O'Neill is there. And Carrion behind that pitch and flying out to right. 2 men away. And Greg Jeffries about it.
Second baseman Greg Jeffries.
Jackson, after a fantastic year in 1988 for the Reds, when he won 23 games, the most in the National League, and lost 8, second in the Cy Young voting to Hershiser, has really struggled. Last year he was 6-11, and this year he is 2-2.
Arthroscopic surgery on that shoulder last year in July, and then his big toe on his left foot, the foot off of which he pushes. Very important for him because he's got that slider that he keeps down, and that unusual delivery where he almost drags the ground.
And there you see it as he goes through on his follow through for ball 2. Jeffries hitting .313 for the year, 10 home runs, 33 RBIs. He's in the top 10 and 4 of the hitting categories in the National League. This ball hit in the air to center field. Eric Davis in center. And as the Reds, the Mets go in order in their half of the first inning. The score at the end of 1. The Reds nothing, the Mets nothing. And here's a word from Mita Copier. And Paul O'Neill to lead it off for Cincinnati. O'Neill hitting cleanup for the Reds, hitting .284 in the year with 10 home runs, 42 RBIs. And Ron Darley misses with a fastball for ball 1. Darley 9-4 lifetime against the Reds. Pitch hit in the air to right field. Strawberry back. It could be gone, but Strawberry to the wall. He makes the catch. Harold Strawberry at the last minute getting up high enough to glove that one and bring it back in.
I tell you, Darryl is so graceful at times. Watch the grace in this catch. Well, that's a fine play by Darryl Strawberry. Here it is again. Basketball ability coming in handy there.
Well, that was, and this ball to Ken Griffey hits him on the foot. Griffey on his first pitch will get first base free the hard way. That's pretty tough on a guy as old as Griffey. Griffey in his 17th year in the major leagues. And of course his son, and he is 40 years of age, is playing with the Seattle Ball Club and is regarded as one of the great players in baseball. So he gets first base being hit by the pitch ball. First base runner in this game, and it brings up Luis Quinones, batting .268 with no home runs, 10 runs batted in. And the first pitch to Quinones is called a strike. Quinones with a big base hit in the Reds rally in yesterday's ball game. He has been unbelievable as a pinch hitter. He's had 9 hits and 17 at bats as a pinch hitter for the Reds this year. 2
walks, 2 sacrifice flies.
Boy, this went off the end of the bat, and Darling gloves it, goes from his knees, and Marshall makes a good play as they take a base hit away from Quinones. Marshall taking the ball out of the dirt.
Darling, a defensive back at Yale, a very good all-around athlete, shows his athletic prowess right here. From his knees, Good play, Marshall. Fine play by the Gold Glove of Ron Darling. Wow.
First Gold Glove won by a Mets pitcher in their history, and he proves his value right there as he takes a base hit away from Quinones. On the play, Griffey goes to second, and now with 2 men out, the batter will be Mariano Duncan. Duncan acquired from the Dodgers. He is hitting .305 for the year with 6 home runs, 21 RBIs. And as Tim pointed out in the opening, reading the lineup, a real surprise. His lifetime average to this year was .235.
Coming over with Tim Leary last year for Cal Daniels and Lenny Harris, who went to the Dodgers, and he's been more successful than any of the 4 players. Who would have thought it?
He was on the DL. Before that, he was leading the National League in hitting.
Played for Albuquerque last year, parts of 4 years with the Dodgers previous to that.
1 strike to count to, there's a play on the second, and Elster trying to make a backhanded tag as he was going away from the plate. He almost did. He made a great try to make the tag and get the ball in front of the bag.
Look at Griffey laughing. Elster was laughing. And had this throw been on the money, they would have gotten Ken Griffey. The pitcher sees daylight between the shortstop and the base runner. He wheels and throws to the bag. It was just a little to the first base side. 2 guys smiling.
Griffey wouldn't be smiling if he were picked off, though.
No.
1 strike to count to Duncan. And now the pitch hit on the ground to Elster, and he has the play. Good defensive shortstop. And the throw retires aside. So no runs, no hits. A batter hit by a pitch ball. 1 left at second, and the score at the end of 1.5 innings. The Reds nothing, the Mets nothing, and Strawberry to lead it off as you look at Joe Oliver with some football shoulder pads.
Those look like pads for a back. They're not the big ones the lineman and the linebacker wear. Look at him.
He got the key base hit in Cincinnati's win yesterday as a pinch hitter coming in from the bullpen without the shoulder pads and doubling down the left field line.
Well, one of these songs in the play Oliver was Consider Yourself. So I guess he was considering himself a football lineman then. A running back donning the pads, yeah.
A little more glamorous than that. Darryl Strawberry hits the first pitch to deep center field. It's way back, going to the wall and caught. So Eric Davis tracking that one down, and Strawberry making the bid for his 18th home run. He had his 18-game hitting streak stopped yesterday when he went 0 for 3.
A high slider to Strawberry, and Darryl taking nothing. Hits it to deep center, and his buddy Eric Davis tracks it down. Given the lineup cards before the game, they are good buddies to this day. Childhood buddies, still are.
Basketball and baseball players together in the L.A. area, and now the batter is Kevin McReynolds, and he takes his first pitch for ball 1.
I think Frank Cashin had one of the great lines of the winter. He said, "Do you mean since Davis signed a contract for $3 million, I'm supposed to give Strawberry $3 million because they're friends?"
They're good buddies.
Yeah, right.
2 balls, no strikes to McReynolds, hitting .252 with 12 home runs, 39 RBIs. Reynolds missing yesterday's ball game because of an ear infection. And he fouls off the fastball. Reynolds hitting a slump right here in the last few ball games, and again he's behind the fastball that's fouled away 2-2.
Yeah, he's picking the wrong guy to break out of it against also. He's only 1 for 15 lifetime against Danny Jackson.
So a 2-2 count to Kevin McReynolds, and it just misses, so it fills out. McReynolds against Cincinnati, hitting .254 in his major league career, but not against Jackson. And it's grounded foul Count stays at 3-2. That was a little Steve Carlton pitch right there.
Yeah, a little slider. Well, that's one of the reasons Jackson is so effective. He has two lanes in which he wants to get a hitter out. And that's inside, the inside corner, and then the fastball on the outside corner. Coming in now.
And it's fouled off again, this time the fastball.
For years and years and years, pitching coaches used to preach to pitchers, just keep the ball down. Well, you and I have talked about it before, Ralph. That doesn't always get hitters out. I think the inside and outside lanes get hitters out more than up and down.
And this one popped up on the first base side. Griffey with the glasses down, with the ball drifting into the stands out of play. When a left-hander was pitching, the toughest pitch for me was the low outside fastball.
Really?
I never liked it from a left-hander because that ball had so much movement out there. It was awfully hard to pull.
Usually tailing away from you because left-handers for some reason have that natural tail on their fastballs. You go at it with the fat part of the bat, and because of that late movement, it ends up on the end of the bat, like Bobby Ojida's fastball does that.
Really tough to pull. Again, the 3-2 pitch. And it's hit down to the third base side, not fielded by Quinones. McReynolds will try for two, and he'll make it without a play. So the Mets have the first hit of the day.
Kevin almost missed first base, too. He just touched that inside corner of the bag. Quinones going after the ball, and it kind of takes a tough hop right there, hopping over the glove, and it is yet to be scored. There it is again. Watch the hop. See it hop right over the glove, and probably it'll be scored as a double. Nope, an error on Quinones. Tough error.
That's tough error.
Tough error. Backhanded play.
That is really a tough error. Never touched it. Somebody's going to catch it.
Not Quinones.
Not Quinones didn't catch it, but somebody else is going to catch it. The official scored. And now the first pitch to Mike Marshall. It's a fastball that's fouled off. Strike one. Marshall hitting .248 in his last 11 games, hitting .345. He's been used sparingly because of Magadan being so hot. Magadan not starting today with a tough left-hander out there and being rested. I think this is more of a rest than just the fact that it's a left-handed pitcher. He's been playing long and hard. One strike pitch to Marshall inside. Fastball again, 1-1. Marshall starts since June 17th in Pittsburgh, so it has been a long time since he's been in that starting lineup. There you see Lou Piniella, the manager of the Cincinnati Reds. And a breaking ball in there, called strike 1 and 2. The Reds, with a record of 42-26. In the month of June, they were 16-14, just 2 games over 500. The Giants picking up a total of 5 games on the Reds in the month of June. They had a record of 20-8. And they trail by 9.5 now. This ball a base hit? No, it isn't. It's cut off. Good play by Quinones after being charged with an error on a more difficult play.
Number 21, shortstop.
Good base running by McReynolds also. Watching the line drive. And he watches Quinones catch it. This ball's not scorched to third base. Kind of a trademark hit. Here's McReynolds right here. The third base coach always reminding with less than 2 outs to watch the line drive. McReynolds does that.
And now the batter, Kevin Elster. And Elster takes high for ball 1. Elster in this series 2 for 8. Now hitting .212 in the year with 6 home runs, 34 RBIs. Back on May the 6th, he was hitting .088. And since that time, he's hit .278 to get his average to .212. And that's grounded foul. You're watching Mets Baseball 90 on WWOR-TV, Secaucus, New Jersey. Sam Palazza, who was the third base coach for the Mets last year, now coaching at third base for the Reds. And this went off with a glove of Reed, and Kevin McReynolds will go to third.
It's a pass ball and a toughie. You know, Ralph, you were talking about the movement away from a hitter. It also moves away from a catcher, and that's what happened. That late tail eludes Jeff Reed. A pass ball on Jeff.
So runner at third, but 2 men out. 2 ball, 1 strike count on Kevin Elster. And the pitch is lined to left field for a base hit. McReynolds scores from third base, and the Mets lead it 1-0 as Elster drills a base hit to left.
Our point, talking about the ball down, that ball was down on the inside part of the plate and stroked nicely by Elster. Watch the location of this pitch. Down and in.
So the Mets get their first hit and run as they lead 1-0 here in the bottom of the second, and the batter will be Orlando Mercado. Being 2-11 with 2 home runs, 5 runs batted in, and he grounds the first pitch foul. Orlando batting for the first time against the Reds. Kevin Elster's 35 RBIs, third among National League shortstops. Dunston with 37, Larkin with 37, and then Elster with 35. And hitting about 100 points less than the other two. And a fastball inside, 1 ball, 1 strike. Andy Jackson on the mound. When he won those 23 games back in 1988, he led the league in wins. It was the most wins by a Cincinnati Red pitcher since Jim Maloney won 23 in 1963, and the most by a left-handed pitcher since 1922 for the Reds. And he misses again.
Jim Maloney going for his 24th win, the last day of the season in 1963 against the Cardinals in Old Busch Stadium. It's my first full year in the big leagues, and I say that because Stan Musial got his last hit number 3,630 off Jim Maloney. Low fastball, naturally.
There's one up the middle for a base hit. Elster to second, and holding there as Eric Davis gets to it. And Mercado gets his first hit ever against the Cincinnati Reds. And that puts runners at first and second for Ron Darling.
The pitcher, number 15.
And if nothing else, you clear the pitcher and have your leadoff hitter batting in the third inning. Did you ever see or play against or play with a more devastating low ball hitter than Stan Musial? He may have been the best in history, just for a low fast.
Didn't miss many.
Even in his waning years, he was 43 when he retired in 63, and I'm telling you, he could spank that low fastball.
And Ron Darling the batter, and he goes after the first pitch. Strike 1. Darling with 2 hits and 13 at-bats. Stan Musial in Poland right now, dedicating a Little League field in his name over in Poland.
Beautiful.
Strike 2. Let's do 2 strike count. Stan bringing over baseballs and bats and what have you to establish baseball in Poland. Of course, he's of Polish descent and has had 2 meetings, I believe, with the Pope.
I would imagine his friend James Michener's over there.
Could be. They travel a lot together, the great author. Now they count at 1 and 2.
See, instead of James Michener, Stan probably calls him Jim. You know, there are a lot of guys who get famous people, and they call them like, you remember Robert Morse was in the booth tonight. We called him Bobby and everything, Bobby.
Robert Morse, great actor on Broadway right now. He's in the ballpark today having himself a real good time. I remember in 1969, he used to come out to the control booth of our TV and watch the baseball games from inside in the control room.
Star of How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying in the early 60s, Rudy Valley. Now starring in Truman on Broadway.
He looks just like him. They got him made up to look like Truman. Truman Capote.
Or Capote, I guess it is.
Yes, True.
Capote. True, that's right.
True is the name of the play. But about Truman Capote, who did not know anything about baseball. There's the 2-2 pitch. So Darling stays alive with the ground ball foul. There's Robert Morris.
Bobby. Hi, Bobby. See, when you pal around with celebrity, you call him Bobby instead of Robert.
You know, I ran into him. I was going to a play 2 weeks ago last Saturday. Ran into him in Schubert Alley. He was coming in to start the afternoon matinee, and I've known him for years. There's a swing of this, and I said, how about coming to the ball game? He came out the next day. That was the day that Tuffle got the big hit that won the ball game. Well, the strikeout ends the inning. The Mets get 1 run on 2 hits. There was 1 error, 1 left. The score at the end of 2. It's the Mets 1, and it's Jeff Reed is grounded to the shorts to the second baseman, Greg Jeffries, and 1 pitch and 1 away as Jeff Reed hitting 174 grounds out.
The pitcher, number 20, Danny Jackson.
When a hitter swings and hits the first pitch to somebody for an out, I think baseball people are inclined to say, oh, he hit the first pitch. They never say that if the guy gets a hit.
That's right.
You know?
And now the batter is Danny Jackson. He takes the first pitch for ball 1. And the fastball a called strike. Jackson 1 for 17. Last year, at one point in his career, he struck out 10 straight times. But that's not a record. That's too short of the record held by Sandy Koufax, who struck out 12 consecutive times. Also in this ball game, a man who holds a record with others of 9 straight strikeouts. A position player, Eric Davis, who did it against Houston. 9 consecutive strikeouts.
Back in '86, when Mike Scott was having that great year, Scott was one of those pitchers. Got it 5 times in 1 game.
Yesterday, Chris Sabo struck out his first 4 times up against David Cohn. Then managed to break a bat and ground out to break the streak. He's not playing today. There's Chris. He was kicking that water cooler around pretty good yesterday. Also, Randy Myers, who walked the batter and didn't give up a hit, came in and bounced the water cooler a couple of times. They got some nasty people over there.
The Nasty Boys.
They got some relief pitching, and they call them the Nasty Boys. Randy Myers, Charlton, and Dibble. 3-2, the count to Danny Jackson.
Those water coolers never move, do they? Well, I'll tell you, if you look at most water coolers in a major league locker room, they've got a new cooler in there today.
Yeah, they had to.
Yeah.
They had to go for a brand new one after yesterday.
Maybe they do move.
And Darryl Strawberry tracks it down in foul territory, 2 men away.
They have one of those portable coolers in there. Now, if you check the Mets dugout, they have the regular cooler. But I suppose that Pete Flynn and the ground crew had to take that water cooler out. It was all beat up and dent up, spewing water. There it is. Got the portable cooler.
So the water cooler was 0 for 2 yesterday. And now Billy Hatcher, the batter. Billy flying out to center in the first pitch of the game, his first time up. And he gets a curveball. Ball 1. Hatcher, another surprise, hitting .309 for the year with 1 home run, 12 runs batted in. As we mentioned, 18 infield hits, 6 of them bunts. The Mets not looking for the bunt on the third base side with 2 men out. Marshall is in at first. Jackson treating that water cooler with dignity, and Howard Johnson just backed off on a hard smash by Billy Hatcher, and it goes off his glove into left field.
Hojo feeling this ball like one of the great matadors right here. Ole. It's what the players say when players don't get in front of it. That ball was really hit hard. Look at Johnson. Get the cape out. That's why they call it a reaction corner. Hojo reacting away from that one hopper.
Sort of saving his life. It scored as an error. I believe. We'll check it out a little further. Yeah, they have an error on the scoreboard. Now they're saying it's a base hit. Well, that's kind of inconsistent scoring because McReynolds was given a time at bat on an error call in the second on the ball that was hit as hard as that one. And now they're going the other way and giving a base hit to the Reds player, Billy Hatcher. Who said scorers are homers? Barry Larkin, the batter. Hatcher a threat to steal at first base. He draws a throw and gets back safely.
That base hit, by the way, Ron Darling does not have a no-hitter anymore. No hit through 2 2/3. 2 no-hitters on Friday.
Hard to believe, isn't it?
One in the National League, Valenzuela, and Dave Stewart in the American League.
And Larkin decoying the bunt, taking strike one. Interesting thing that was written about yesterday in one of the papers, I've forgotten which one it was. They said that's the first time that 2 no-hitters have been pitched on the same day. But that's not true because
since 1898.
Yeah, but in 1917, Cincinnati and the Cubs they had a double no-hitter going through 9 innings, and that's considered a no-hitter. And then in the 10th inning, Cincinnati got 2 hits and scored a run and won it 1-0. Fred Toney was a pitcher for Cincinnati, and he was the winner and did end up with a no-hitter. There's a throw on down to second base and a steal by Hatcher. And a runner in scoring position. The Mets leading 1-0.
A strong throw by Mercado, but Billy Hatcher just had too big a lead at first base. A good jump. Watch the throw, though. A little late, but strong.
Now a runner in scoring position on the stolen base. The 99th for the Cincinnati Reds this year. They're third in the league.
20th for Hatcher. He's been caught 5 times.
They count 1-1 on Larkin. And he pops it up. Breaking ball popped up on the second base side. Jeffries with the glasses down makes the catch, and that retires the side. So a hit, a runner left at second to score. At the end of 2.5 innings, the Mets won, the Reds nothing. And here's a word from Busch Gardens, leading 1-0 with Howard Johnson leading off here in the third against Danny Jackson, who came in the game with a record of 2-2. And the first pitch, a fastball fouled away.
Before the game, I asked Hojo if his shoulder was still bothering him, his left shoulder. He said no. He said his shoulder's fine and everything in working order now.
He has been swinging better. He brings a 9-game hitting streak into this game. And he takes for ball 1 ball, 1 strike. He was bothered more hitting right-handed by that bad shoulder than left-handed. The 1-1 pitch way high, 2 balls, 1 strike. Speaking of sore shoulders, Jose Rijo was put on the disabled list. He started the first game of this series. The Mets won that game 5-4. But that's not the important thing. He is the son-in-law of Juan Marichal, which brings us to the fact that Juan Marichal never won the Cy Young Award, in spite of winning 26 games one year and 25 games another. This ball has popped up and out of play. Marichal didn't win it when he won 26 in 1968. A good reason there, isn't it, Tim? Bob Gibson.
Yeah, Bob with that 1.12 ERA.
And then the next year he won 25. Not the next year, but the next time. 125. Koufax was the Cy Young Award winner that year.
That was 66, I think, when Koufax won 27.
66 it was. And this ball lined to right field, and that will extend his hitting streak to 10 consecutive games as Johnson leads off.
That is a good piece of hitting by Howard Johnson, protecting the outside part of the plate. And he skewers one down the right field line, hits it right on the end of the bat.
So the Mets leading 1-0, have a runner at first with no one out, and Mark Carrion, the batter. Carrion flied out to right his first time up. Throw to first base. Johnson with 14 stolen bases in 17 attempts. Takes it for ball 1 ball, no strikes. Mets in their last 21 games with a team batting average of .320. They've had 55 two-base hits, make it 3 three-base hits, and 31 home runs, and scored 144 runs in those last 21 games. A record 18-3 over the 21 games. Bud Harrelson, the Mets have won 21 and lost 8. Johnson back easily there. After Cincinnati, it'll be the Houston Astros for a 2-game series on Tuesday and Wednesday nights. There goes Johnson, a late start. This ball hit deep to left, but over there to make the play is Hatcher. Johnson waiting at second base till after the catch and now returning to first base. So Carrion not getting the ball squarely on the bat, flies out to fairly deep left. That'll bring up Greg Jeffries.
That sweet part of the bat that Ralph was talking about is about the width of 2 baseballs right on the barrel. And if you get it below it or above it, then you don't hit it as hard, and that appeared to be the case with Carrion then.
So Johnson back to first as Greg Jeffries steps in. Jeffries flied out to center field his first time up. And he takes a fastball. Mets have raised their team batting average from .236 to .262 in the last month. They lead the league in home runs with 90. And they have an average of 5.14 runs per game. Throw to first base again. They have averaged more runs per game than any team in the National League. But they are second in runs scored, but the Mets have played fewer games than any team in the National League. Another throw to first base. Understood that kind of a throw to first base. It seemed to be awfully tough on a pitcher's arm.
Yeah, that's right, because he's stepping off and throwing over at the same time. Would put a strain on the shoulder.
There goes Johnson again, and Jeffries pulls it foul into the stands.
Why do they call them stands when people are sitting? There are 50,000 plus people sitting today, and yet they're still known as stands. Just a thought.
Well, they're also called grandstands. That's a pretty good thought, though.
Not real good.
Why do people park on driveways?
And drive on parkways.
Drive on parkways. Now the pitch is low, and the throw is low as Johnson steals second. As Reed makes a bad throw into second base, but I doubt if he could have got it anyway.
Yeah, Hojo with a big jump off of first base, and the throw by Reed as a one-hopper. Nice play by Duncan, just keeping the ball from going into center field. Howard Johnson with his 15th stolen base of the year.
And a runner in scoring position with 1 man out, the Comics. And he goes after a fastball, fouls it back out of play. Jeffries has 10 home runs and 33 RBIs, batting .313. Hit .346 in June with 3 home runs and 16 runs batted in. He had it going real well. He sort of slowed down, not to the extent that you'd call it a slump. but it hasn't been that sparkling in the last couple of weeks. 3 for 12 in this series coming into this game, and he flew out to center field his first time up. Now a hard smash, but it's foul. So Jeffries again out in front. Jeffries in the top 10 in 4 different categories. At one time he was in the top 10 in 6. Again, the 1-2 pitch. Johnson stealing third, and he's going to be out. So Howard Johnson trying to steal third base and thrown out by Reed. And that's the second out of the inning.
That's a good chance, though. When you take a chance of stealing third with 1 out, and you can steal bases, then you've taken a good chance. The ball was inside. It was a perfect pitch for Reed to throw inside, and he threw it behind Jeffries. The catcher has the option of making that throw either in front of the hitter or behind the hitter, depending on the location of the pitch.
And Jeffries has struck out on a bad pitch, and that will end the inning. So no runs, 1 hit, no one left on base. The score at the end of 3, the Mets 1 and the Cincinnati Reds nothing. Now here's a word of the base, and Emily DeGrassi is now in the drawing for a new Nissan 300ZX. She entered the Nissan stolen base game at her participating Nissan dealer. Why don't you? There it is, Howard Johnson stealing second, and now for the play-by-play, Tim McCarver.
All right, Ralph, and Eric Davis leads it off. Here in the top of the 4th inning, 1-0 Mets. Kevin Elster's 2-out single. Driving in Kevin McReynolds in the 2nd inning, the only run scored in this game. A splitter and a beauty, 0-2 to Davis. He struck out his first time up. Darling with 1 strikeout. He has walked no one, giving up only 1 hit. With the high fastball, so Davis has fanned twice, 1 away here in the 4th. This game is brought to you, folks, in part by your neighborhood Chevrolet Geo dealers and by the New Jersey Bell Yellow Pages. No other book can match it, those New Jersey Bell Yellow Pages. New Jersey Bell, a Bell Atlantic company. Bud Harrelson is out to talk to Ron Darling. Mercado, possibly thinking it was only 2 strikes, threw the ball back and it hit Ron Darling. Usually a catcher will throw the ball around after a strikeout.
Here it is on the replay, the strikeout by Davis on a split finger fastball. It looked like it was that. And Darling not looking after the strikeout, and Mercado threw it back and got him, it appeared, on the back of his neck.
Ronnie appears to be all right, but as you folks know, when a batter strikes out, the catcher will throw it to third or first base, depending on your penchant. Orlando possibly thinking it was 2 strikes. Obviously got to feel bad about that. And the split finger for a strike. So here in the 4th, 4 straight strikes by Ron Darling. Paul O'Neill, a fly to right field on a great play by Strawberry in the 2nd inning. 1-1 to Paul. Doc Edwards has done a fine job improving the throwing arm of Mackay Sasser. Mackay is throwing very well now. Mercado throws well. There's Mackay. Boy, has his throwing improved.
It really has improved, and he also has improved behind the plate defensively. He was converted to catching. He was an outfielder and third baseman, first baseman type player, and they said, try catching. Not easy.
1-2 to O'Neill, and the curve is outside, 2-2. Got him on the splitter. 3 strikeouts now for Darling. 2 out here in the 4th.
Well, this ball really breaking down and away.
First baseman, Griffey.
And O'Neill fishing. and not getting a fish.
Fish are biting. Ken Griffey now hit by a pitch in the second inning. Hit by a curveball. Grounder towards second. Jeffries gets Griffey. 3 up, 3 down for the Reds in the fourth. After 3.5, it's 1-0 New York. And we'll be back after this from your Chevrolet dealers. Orlando Mercado. Doc always communicating with his catchers. I think that is a spot that's overlooked by a lot of major league clubs. Ralph is a catching coach. If pitching is that important to a ball club and the catchers are appendages of the pitchers, then you ought to have a guy who's an ex-catcher.
I think that's a great idea.
Strawberry flying out deep to Eric Davis in center field to open the second inning. 1-0 New York. A ball and no strikes to Darrell. 18-game hitting streak ending yesterday. They'll try to start another one. It's 2-0.
You know, one of the things about catching, as you well know, is the calling of the pitches and the sequence and the setting up of the batter. And if you get someone who's constantly talking to you about that and your idea of what you were trying to accomplish, it helps.
Pitchers will tell you that they are concerned with the pitch itself and how to throw it, where to throw it. They don't want to know which pitch. They leave that selection to the catcher. And if you have good communication, that quiet game that you can't see, then you'll be much more successful.
Seaver was always talking about Grody and how they fought together. In other words, when he put down for, say, a curveball, it was the pitch that Seaver was thinking about, and he went along with it. If you don't agree, then you say, hey, who's right? Is he right or am I right?
Popped up left side. Quinones, the third baseman, glasses down. Makes the catch in foul territory. 1 out here in the fourth.
And checking out the Nissan National League scoreboard. Houston 3, Philadelphia nothing. That game in the bottom half of the third. Atlanta 1, Montreal nothing. Bottom half of the third. Pittsburgh later against San Francisco. Chicago later against San Diego. And St. Louis also later in Los Angeles.
Kevin McReynolds now, who scored the only run of the ball game, on a 2-base error in the second inning. And the fastball on the outside corner. 1 strike to McReynolds. Popped up right side. Back is Duncan. In is O'Neill. And it's Paul O'Neill who one-hands it. 2 out here in the fourth. Marty Brenneman, the Cincinnati Reds announcer, has asked us to pass along a happy birthday greetings to Harold Storm in Newton, New Jersey. Harold is 67 years young this afternoon. So happy birthday, Harold. Danny Jackson. Ralph mentioned on the DL half of last year, only 6 and 11, but pitching well today. A high hop for Barry Larkin, and the Mets go meekly here in the fourth inning, but they lead it 1-0 after 4. And we're back after this from Manufacturers. The third curveball from Ron Darling for a strike. Ron doing a terrific job staying ahead of the hitters today. And the split finger is drilled to right, but playable. Strawberry loping over and making the catch. That's 5 in a row retired by Darling. The Reds only have 1 hit against Ronnie today.
And checking out the Nissan American League scoreboard, Boston 9, Texas 4. That's in the top of the fourth. Oakland and Toronto tied at 1, top of the third. Cleveland 2, California 1, bottom half of the third. The Yankees in Chicago against the White Sox getting underway. Same for Detroit and Kansas City. Later on, Milwaukee against Seattle, Baltimore against Minnesota.
Mariano Duncan takes strike 1. He grounded to short. Ron Darling throwing a lot of strikes today. He has struck out 3, but he has been ahead of the hitters for the most part all day long. 1-1 to Duncan. Ball 2, 2-1. Jeff Reed, the catcher, on deck. Tapper, third base, tough play for Johnson. Bare hands, but can't get him. Nice play by Hojo, but Duncan's just too fast to be had on a ball hit like that. So the second Reds hit of the day.
And it chopped out to the third base side. It looked like it might have gone foul. I don't know whether or not Howard even thought about letting it go, but the only reason why you might is that he had no chance to throw him out.
Very lucid point right there. Knowing who's running, it was a fine play by Johnson, but really his only chance is to allow it to go foul. Jeff Reed, the batter, and he takes the splitter for ball one. Mets on top, 1-0. Cincinnati breaking a mini losing streak yesterday. They had lost 3 in a row, and they beat the Mets yesterday. The Reds with a 24-16 record on the road. That's the best in the National League. Duncan, 8 stolen bases. He has not been caught. There he goes. Swing and a miss. The throw to second not in time. And on that swing, Reed crossed over the plate. He didn't do it intentionally, but we've seen catcher's interference 3 times this year, and there could have been another case of it.
Right here, you can't block that catcher out. Now he swings at the ball outside, comes across over the plate, bothers the throw of Mercado. And Duncan gets his 8th stolen base, and good play on the backup by Jeffries to keep it from going through in the center field.
So it's 1-1 to Jeff Reed. Duncan representing the potential tying run at second. We're in the 5th inning, 1 out. Outside, ball 2. 2-1 to Jeff Reed. Mets and the Reds 3-3 on the season. The Mets have won 3 and lost 2 here at Shea Stadium. They're 0-1 at Riverfront.
And that loss was the debut of Bud Harrelson.
Foul away. 2-2 to Jeff Reed, formerly with Montreal.
Reed's dad is the assistant baseball coach at Eckerd College in St. Petersburg. He had a brother, Kurt, that was an outfielder in the Padres organization.
Jeff originally from Elizabethtown, Tennessee, or Elizabethton, Tennessee. Born in Joliet, Illinois. 2-2 to the Reds catcher. Ball 3, 3-2.
Important man to get out here. The next batter is Jackson. The pitcher is he's a bad hitter is what he is. And if he walks and he can sacrifice with Jackson, then that clears him out of the way.
Well, he walked. And third base umpire, Dana DeMuth, says that Reed did not go around. So we'll see what the Mets do. Now, they've been working on the wheel play, the rotation play. Howard Johnson out to talk to Ron Darling. As most of you may know, the rotation play is used with runners at first and second. You have to know the bunt is on. The hitter can't or shouldn't have good bat control to where he can change it. And on the play, the third and first baseman charge toward home plate. The pitcher charges toward home plate. The shortstop goes to third and the second baseman goes to first. Tony Perez, eligible for the Hall of Fame after the '91 season. First base coach. 1 out, 2 on, 1-0 New York here in the 5th. He's squaring to bunt. Marshall way in at first base. And now Darling steps off.
Marshall's coming in, and pretty soon he got too close.
And he's bunting all the way, bunts it toward third, and it's a beauty. Darling throws almost wide to Jeffries, and Greg with a nice stretch stays on the bag. So the sacrifice successful. 2 outs.
Jeffries in a problem and a dilemma right here. He has to keep on the bag. If he comes off to make the catch, then the runner will be safe, and he has to stretch as far as he can. And manages to do that, stay on the bag. Good job by Jeffries. But now runners at second and third with 2 men out for Billy Hatcher.
Hatcher 1 for 2. He got the first hit of the game in the 3rd inning. And the curveball for a strike. No balls, 1 strike to Billy Hatcher. In the infield. Marshall glances down. Jeffries runs him off, and it's Jeffries who makes the play. So Darling pitching out of trouble here in the 5th inning. The Reds strand 2, and it's still 1-0 Mets, middle of the 5th. We're back after this from your Dodge dealers.
The Mets are asking that to show that support for this important cause. All fans attending the July 3rd game against the Astros wear some article of blue clothing, be it a shirt, hat, jacket, or sweatshirt. We also will be handing out our Unity buttons at the stadium gates.
Really a nice thing to make us conscious of our fellow man.
And it's Kevin Elster here as he bats for the 2nd time. Elster singled and drove in the only run of the ball game back in the 2nd inning. It was a 2-out single. Scoring Kevin McReynolds from third base. He had reached base on an error by the third baseman. Could have been scored as a 2-base hit. Now Elster looking, and they call a ball, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Incidentally, Tuesday night, Frank Viola will be pitching for the Mets for the record of 11-3 against Mark Portugal, who has won 2 and lost 7. And a strike call. It's 1-2. Home plate umpire Eric Gregg making that call. Danny Jackson on the mound. Veteran left-hander. And the fastball is fouled back into the stand, so the count stays at 1-2.
Jackson coming over to the Reds for Kurt Stillwell back in 1987. And what about, did you read about Kurt Stillwell just recently? The doctors thought he had a herniated disc. They were going to work on his back, operate actually.
And strike 3.
And they found out he had kidney stones instead.
Wow.
Instead of a herniated disc, it was misdiagnosed.
The catcher, Orlando Mercado.
I think a second opinion was necessary in that
Second,
particular
third,
case.
fourth, and fifth.
Yeah.
So 1 away, and Orlando Mercado will be the batter. Singled his first time up. Mets with 3 hits in the ball game. The Reds have had 2. The Mets leading 1-0. And a strike call. Jackson has struck out 3 now, and he has not walked a batter. One strike delivery is chopped out toward the third base side, fielded there by Quinones, and the throw to first base for an easy out. 2 4 2/3 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, no walks and 3 Ks, and Ron Darling will be the batter. Darling was struck out his first time up.
Second good outing for Danny Jackson last Tuesday night against San Francisco. He gave up a first inning 2-run homer to Kevin Mitchell, but gave up only 1 hit through 6 innings.
This ball hit hard to the shortstop, and Larkin over to first base for the out as Griffey makes the catch. So an easy inning. That's 8 in a row for Jackson, and the score at the end of 5 here at Shea Stadium. The Mets won in the red, and the Cincinnati Reds in the final game of this 4-game series with the Reds. The Mets have won 2 of the 3 and lead in this one by a score of 1-0, with the Reds coming up in the 6th with Barry Larkin to lead it off. Larkin 0 for 2. On the mound for the Mets, Ron Darling. He was a substitute pitcher for Sid Fernandez, who at one point looked like he was going to be the starter, and this one pulled down the left field side. Sid missed a turn, but was up for his turn here today, but at the last minute, Bud Harrelson said, "I'm not going to take any chances with Sid's arm. We're going to start Ron Darling."
Especially with 6 starters, the Mets with 6 quality starters, and all of those starters have really started to come around. If you remember, at the beginning of June, other than Frank Viola, the other 5 Mets starters were 8 and 21 with an ERA around 6. That's not the case anymore.
And Darling back with a breaking ball. It's called a strike, and it's strike 2. Viola now 11 and 3. Gooden, who was under 500, has gone to 7 and 5. He'll be the pitcher Wednesday night. And this pitch hits Larkin. So on the 2-strike count, he puts the tying run on by hitting Larkin.
Ronnie wanted to come inside with a fastball to push Larkin back away from the plate. And that's certainly good policy. But bad execution, as Larkin cannot get out of the way of the pitch, and it hits him above his left elbow.
So that puts the leadoff batter on here in the 6th inning and brings up Eric Davis. Davis has struck out twice in this game. He has struck out 7 times in this 4-game series. He also has hit 2 home runs. Larkin a threat to steal. The Reds are running ball club. And the first pitch to Davis, a fastball in there called strike. Davis hitting .246 with 11 home runs, 34 RBIs. Career average on the screen right there. Toss over to first. Larkin with 20 stolen bases and 23 attempts. Reds with 2 stolen bases already in this game. And again, Darling over to first. And the pitch back to Eric Davis, taken low, 1 ball and 1 strike. Davis with 5 hits and 16 at-bats in the series, 2 of them home runs.
What a package. 170 pounds. Paper thin. Boy, what power.
And a high curveball hit in the air to shallow left. McCarver started back. He thought that ball was going to go farther. And then he had time to come in. So 1 away, a runner still at first, and the batter will be Paul O'Neill. You know, there's only one thing better than the Mets win. That's celebrating that win with an ice cold Budweiser. Mets fans, this Bud's for you. O'Neill has flied out to right. A good play on the ball by Strawberry. He also has been struck out. And the first pitch, a fastball.
Darling with 2 hit batsmen this afternoon. Ronnie once hit 3 batters in a game in his 2nd major league start. That was against the Phillies. 2 of those batters, Mike Schmidt and Pete Rose.
Throw to first base. That was in the days when Darling was wild. He had trouble in the early part of his career getting the ball over. He used to lead the league in walks.
Yeah.
Here's the 1-0 pitch. And he's behind now 2-0 to the dangerous Paul O'Neill, who has 10 home runs and 42 RBIs. Reds lead Major League Baseball in team batting with a .276 average. Rather unusual when you think of the American League being under the National League when they have the DL, and that's ball 3. The DH, I should say, not DL. Designated hitter.
Yeah, they have DLs too, though.
Yeah. I don't know whether they're leading the league or not. Here's the 3-0 pitch. And it's a called strike. O'Neill thought he had ball 4. On the off-speed pitch, a strike called by Eric Gregg. Throw to first. Again to throw to first, and the scrambling Barry Larkin just does get back in time. He was spinning wheels there. Three balls, 1 strike. The runner goes, and the pitch is ball 4, so now runners at first and second. On a batter hit by a pitch ball and a walk. 1 man out, and Ken Griffey the batter.
First baseman Ken Griffey.
Griffey hit by a pitch his first time up, grounded out his second. He has a lifetime average against the Mets of .333 with 5 home runs. Yesterday, he got his 200th stolen base.
He's playing today and yesterday because of an injury to Todd Bensinger, an unusual injury.
And the first pitch to Griffey, a ball.
Bensinger strained a ligament in his right wrist in the on-deck circle. The bat boy, he was swinging the bat. The bat boy in Cincinnati, there's Todd. You see the tape around his right wrist. And swinging the bat, one of the bat boys came near the bat circle, the batting circle, and Todd tried to hold up, and in the process sprained a tendon in his right hand. Unusual for that to happen in the on-deck circle. Looks like Jeff Innis is up and throwing now for the Mets. Mel Stottlemyre out to talk to Ron Darling. Thinking of Mel's son, the pitcher for the Toronto Blue Jays.
If Todd has any kind of success comparable to his dad, he'll be a big money man.
You know, they have a bet, Mel and Todd, as to which team finishes higher, the Blue Jays or the Mets.
1 ball, no strikes as Darling comes to the plate, and the ball grounded out to the first base side off of the glove of Marshall. It'll be at least a single, and he turns it into a double as Griffey goes into second base. Scoring on the play ties the game. Barry Larkin, and going to third is Paul O'Neill. So now the Mets enjoying a 1-0 lead. See that disappear, and runners still at second and third.
Watch the ball take the bad hop over the glove of Mike Marshall right there. See, had that hop been truer, I think Marshall recovers in time to possibly get Griffey at first base. But that ball hopped over his glove, and Griffey has a double.
And the Reds have a tie ball game, and coming up to the plate is Luis Quiones. And he now goes back to talk to Duncan for a moment. Barry Larkin scoring the tying run here in the 6th inning. So the Reds now with runners at second and third. The Mets have their infield in at first and third. Quinones is the batter, 0 for 2, and the first pitch is swung on, a fastball fouled back out of play.
Right before Quinones went up to the batter's box, he had a conversation with Mariano Duncan. When something like that happens, you look for a squeeze. Piniella, out of the Billy Martin school of baseball thinking, likes to squeeze.
1 strike to count. And the breaking ball outside, 1 ball, 1 strike. Ron Darling working from the stretch position to guard against the suicide squeeze, as you see Lou Piniella in the dugout of the Reds. Darling, a fine fielder. Mets have Johnson even with the bag at third, and also Marshall even at the bag at first. Shortstop and second baseman are back for defense, and there's a swing and a foul, so it's 1-2.
I think unless it's the ninth inning when you're really playing for one run or something, if you have runners at second and third, I don't think that's the time to put the squeeze on. If you have a runner at third, that's a different story. But second and third, you have a chance to drive in 2 runs with a base hit. I think your percentages are bad to put the squeeze on with runners on other than third base, unless you're playing just for 1 run.
A little early in the game for that.
Right.
So 1 ball, 2 strikes. Darling trying to get out of this. And here's his pitch, and it's popped up into an area back a second. Jeffries goes over and makes the play for the second out of the inning. Lou Piniella not happy with that result.
Second baseman, Mariano Duncan.
The curveball jams Quinones, and a little weak fly ball to Jeffries. So a big pitch by Ron Darling.
Haven't seen many people jam with a curveball.
You know, that high curveball can jam left-handed hitters, though. You think it's going to break down, and you dive into it, and the ball crawls in on the hands.
And that's exactly what happened as Mariano Duncan fouls off his first pitch for strike 1. Duncan with an infield base hit and 2 at-bats.
Reminds me of a Cardinal clubhouse meeting back in the middle 60s. Bob Perky was the starting pitcher. Kenny Boyer was the third baseman. And we were playing the Milwaukee Braves, and Perky said, you know, I like to throw Henry Aaron high sliders. And Boyer said, not with me playing third base, you're not.
I got a family. That's the funny thing, high sliders to Henry Aaron. Of course, Perky had a pretty good knuckleball.
Yeah.
Jeff Innis still throwing in the bullpen for the Mets. 2 men away. Tie ball game now at 1. A run is in for the Reds to tie it. Runners at second and third. Duncan, the batter, hitting in the 7th position in the batting order. A left-hand batter behind him. And the 1-strike pitch. And it's popped up into shallow center. Elster back. He'll have to hurry, and he makes a play. Kevin Elster, the only man that can make the play, and he does it to get out of the inning. And he gets a standing ovation. 1 run on 1 hit. 2 men left in scoring position, and the score at the end of 5.5 innings, it's the Reds 1 and the Mets 1. Now here's the word from O'Doul.
It wasn't necessarily that he made the catch. It's how far he had to run to make the catch. He runs about 5 steps, then he looks down and runs to the spot where he thinks it's going to be. I mean, that's shallow center field. That is a terrific play by Kevin Elster. Here it is again. As Ralph said, he's the only one who could get there. Mark Carrion couldn't have made the play. Fine play by Kevin Elster.
And that keeps the game at 1 as he pulls off a spectacular play. 2 more runs would have scored if he had not held on to that ball. And now the Mets coming up in their half of the 6th inning. 1-1 ball game, both sides with 3 hits. And the 1 run that the Mets have is unearned. Danny Jackson on the mound. His first batter will be Howard Johnson.
Crowds of clouds are gathering, Mr. K.
Rather ominous looking sky off to the west. Howard Johnson, Mark Carrion, and Greg Jeffries, the first 3 batters for the Mets. Howard with his base hit in the 3rd inning. Extended his hitting streak to 10 consecutive ball games. He takes the fastball for ball 1. Few drops of rain starting to fall here at Shea, and the swing for strike one. 1 ball, 1 strike. Ball, 1 strike. Johnson hitting .236 with 12 home runs, 41 RBIs. And he pops this one up. First baseman Ken Griffey is right there. 1 away.
Center fielder Mark Carrion.
This copyrighted telecast is authorized under television rights granted by the New York Mets solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, or use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the New York Mets and Sterling Doubleday Enterprises LP and WWOR-TV is prohibited. Mark Carrion, the batter, 0 for 2, and he takes for ball 1. Any commercial or other use of the program, such as by charging admission for its showing, is similarly prohibited.
Did it again. Back to your old habits, huh?
And the pitch back to Carrion, a ball. It's 2 balls, no strikes.
One of the toughest words to pronounce quickly. Similarly.
Too many syllables in it. Somehow it just doesn't roll off of your tongue,
No,
does it?
Uh-uh.
And then the fastball fouled away. It's 2-1. It's easy to write, but tough to say. Robert Morris out there to make the play, and nothing happened. How to succeed without trying. And now ball 3, 3 balls and 1 strike. Carrion followed by Jeffries. Jackson has not walked a batter in this game. The 3-1 pitch. And there's his first walk. So the Mets with a runner on. Tie ball game at 1, and Greg Jeffries a batter. Greg has flied to center and struck out. Lou Piniella with the first base ball club. They lead by 9.5 games over the San Francisco Giants, but that lead cut by 5 by the Giants in the month of June. Ground ball hit foul, strike 1. Jeffries in this series has 3 hits and 14 at-bats. He's never hit well against the Reds, a .203 lifetime average, and not a home run. And a throw over to first. The lights have been turned on here at Shea. And the fastball for ball 1, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Low ball pitcher on the mound. A good contact hitter at the plate. See if Bud Harrelson puts the runner in motion. As you can see, it's getting dark here at Shea Stadium.
Short lead at first by Carrion. He does not go, and the ball is swung on and missed. Jeffries having difficulty with Jackson. He has not had many good swings. Again, Carrion with a short lead at first. And the pitch, a fastball high, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Mets have 5 games after the All-Star break with the Cincinnati Reds in Cincinnati. They'll start up in Cincinnati after the break. All-Star game in Chicago. Throw to first, and Carrion steps back.
Some of the American League teams will be playing that Wednesday night, the night after the All-Star game. Those are lockout makeup games. No National League club, but several American League clubs.
Again, the throw to first. Mets start off that 5-game series on Thursday night with a tomorrow night doubleheader against the Reds. They've got their hands full. They have 9 games, or will have had 9 games with the Reds in 2 weeks. Now the pitch, and hit hard but foul. Well, Jeffrey's around too fast on the high fastball, and the count stays at 2-2. Mets playing their 72nd game of the year, 9 games away from the halfway point. Again, the 2-2 pitch, and it's in the dirt. The count goes to 3-2.
Good play. When you folks are at a ballpark and you see a fastball caught by a catcher, then you know it's a good play because he doesn't anticipate a fastball in the dirt. That's a fine play by Jeff Reed. Quick hands. You anticipate the breaking ball, but not the fastball in the dirt.
3-2. Carry-on should be running with the pitch. And he does go, and it's ball 4. So 2 walks in a row, and the Mets have runners at first and second. And Darryl Strawberry, the batter.
Here's that last pitch, a high fastball. Danny Jackson with a follow-through much like a bowler. He really stays low to the ground.
Well, a crowd responding to Darryl Strawberry at the plate. Darryl flied out to deep center his first time up, fouled out to third his second. And he is hitless today, also hitless yesterday, 0 for 3 to break a 18-game hitting streak. And his first pitch, a fastball for ball 1.
Pitching coach Stan Williams out to talk to Danny Jackson. Here's what we were talking about. Look how low he finishes. Almost like a bowler. He always, like Tom Seaver, had the right knee always with dirt on it. Danny Jackson, his left knee always with dirt on it. You know, this can change a strategy. For instance, Lou Piniella now has his short reliever, Rob Dibble, up, thinking that the game, there's a chance of it not going the regulation 9 innings. And it is raining now here at Shea.
So the rain starting to fall here at Shea. The crowd evacuating the open areas to get underneath some cover. And Darryl Strawberry with a count of 1 ball and no strikes. And the pitch in there called strike. Strawberry in his 18-game hitting streak, which was stopped yesterday after an 0 for 3 day, batted .412 with 9 home runs, 24 runs batted in. And it's going to be a delay of game now, as Doug Harvey has said, we want the tarp on. It looks too ominous. So they're going to put the tarp on with the count at 1 ball and 1 strike on Darryl Strawberry. 1 man out, runners at first and second for the Mets. And the score tied at 1. So we will have a rain delay here. And while the tarp is being put on, we'll wait for a minute or 2 here at Shea. But first, this word from New York Telephone. Who was the first catcher? Who was the catcher in your first Major League game that you umpired?
My first catch in my Major League game that I umpired? That's a good question. That was back in 1975. And I'll have to say, Atlanta Brave catcher.
Whoops.
Let me see. That's my first. Jesus. That's a good one. I probably would say Biff Picaroba, of his name. I can't pronounce his last name.
Yeah, I remember him. Little Biff, yeah. Wasn't Tim McCarver?
No, Tim McCarver was my first plate job at the Vet. The last day of the season in '76 was my most biggest thrill because he caught lefty against Steve Carlton.
Steve Carlton was the pitcher, right?
Steve Carlton, lefty Steve Carlton. He pitched against Tom Seaver, and he was the catcher for that game. And that was my biggest thrill because Lefty won his 20th game. He beat Seaver. He had 13 strikeouts, and Seaver had 10 strikeouts, and that was my biggest thrill. And that was to me McCarver. Yeah, I remember that well.
And that was your first time behind the plate?
That was my first time behind the plate at the vet. And that was a situation was very funny because we had 30 of my family there, and they roped that section off and called it the Soul Bowl. I remember it well. I remember that well.
Well, Eric, you just came back from, I believe, Duke University. You went through their weight loss program there?
Yeah, I went to Duke University Diet and Fitness Center, and it was a super program. I didn't want to go there first. Mr. White put a lot of pressure on me, along with my attorney, Richie Phillips, and they told me I had a problem with my weight. And I know I had a problem with my weight, but I've always maintained it back and forth, a yo-yo type thing, and this time it really got out of hand. My blood pressure got sky high, and they were worried about my health, and finally they said, well, I had to go. And I got together with my wife, and we talked about it, and finally I went to Duke University. I took off 62 pounds. I got my blood pressure down, and I feel pretty good. And even though I was disappointed about Mr. White ordering me to go, I'm probably really happy he did because it probably saved my life.
We're talking with Eric Gregg, and we'll be back to talk some more with Eric in a moment right after this message from Bud Light. The game is in the bottom of the 6th inning. The Mets have runners on the bases, and it's a 1-1 ball game. Now, the rule used to say that if it were called and rained out, the top of the 6th doesn't count. Mets would win the ball game 1-0, but that's not the case anymore.
Not anymore. It's a tie game right now, and we're going to really try to get it in, and with weather permitting, we will get it in. But if not, it's a tie game. We just play it over again.
Start from beginning and play it all over, and everything counts. All the stats count.
Exactly.
Now, Eric, the reason why we got you here is because you're now an author. You've got a book out in the market, and I just received my copy. I haven't had a chance to read it, but it looks like it's very entertaining.
Well, it's not your typical joke book. It's a serious side to it. It's talking about a kid, myself, coming from the ghetto, coming from a tough background, coming from an abusive dad, former alcoholic, which was a great dad at times, but he abused my mom. And I have a brother who's in prison right now. I have a sister we lost on drugs. So if I can just reach one kid out there to let them know that even if you come from that type of background and you have a dream, you can really make it in this world. And I worked hard, and my mom, my dad helped me as much as they could. And I remember one time I said to my mom as a 13-year-old kid, I said, Mom, one of these days I'm going to be on TV. She looked at me and said, the only way you're going to be on TV is if I pick you up and sit you on top of it. And to this day, they look at me and they say they're very proud of me.
Now, the name of the book is?
Working in Place. Kind of like a double meaning. Marty Appel's my right. I'm sure you heard of him. And the thing about it is when he said, how do you like the name Working the Plate? And I said, I don't understand that.
He said, something to do about food, huh?
Sort of eating and also umpiring plates. So, yeah, I think it was a funny name, and I think it's doing well.
And that's really great. I know that you have it on the market. The publisher is who?
William Morrow. And so far, it's doing very well. And the thing about it is, you know, everybody's always asked me about it and asked me about various anecdotes about various players. But I remember one story very well with Michael Jack Smith. And he was on his way out last year, and he was really struggling behind the plate. And I remember I had a couple of close pitches. I called a strike on him, and he never usually gives me any trouble at all. So finally he starts yelling at me. He said, you're showing yourself up, Eric. I said, Mike, you're showing yourself up. So we leave the ball game, and the next day my son and his little girl, Jessica's in the same classroom. So Jessica's talking to the kids in class and said, you know something? Eric Gregg's son, little Jose, he's over there. You know, Eric, he called some bad pitches on my dad. And my son, Eric Jose, walked over and said, Jessica, what are you saying? And Jessica said, my dad said your dad called some bad pitches on him. The money your dad makes, he should be able to hit those pitches. So that was really funny when Eric told me that.
Well, you know, you're a noted after-dinner speaker. I've heard nothing but great things about when you go out. You got a great sense of humor, and you carry this right in through the book, huh?
Well, yeah, I actually love what I'm doing, and I'm very fortunate to be here. You know, a lot of guys go out there. I work with the great guys like the Doug Harbys and the Jerry Crawfords and guys like that. And, you know, you're lucky to be with such a good crew with Dana DeMuth and these guys where you get along, because umpiring is such a tough profession. If you're working with guys you don't get along, it can really be a long year.
Well, the hard thing about being an umpire is you really don't have a hometown. You're moving all the time. Of course, now you do get vacations. That helps a little bit.
Yes, we get a 2-week vacation, thanks to Richie Phillips, our attorney. And it's tough because we're still away from our homes. I mean, ball players, they get a 15-day homestand, which is great, and they get home a lot. They have maybe 9 or 10 homestands throughout the year, but we don't. And guys like myself, I'm very fortunate. I live in Philadelphia. I can commute from Shea, so I can get home a lot on the off day because I'm in a major city.
Well, that sounds like it's a lot better now for the umpires. Of course, it's still a very tough profession. Tell me something. Are there tougher pitchers to work, or is it all about the same? The pitchers, are they harder to call strikes and balls?
Yes, some pitchers are a lot tougher depending on if they're on that day. When Doc is really on, his fastball's tough to see because a lot of times it's moving. And his curveball, if it's off, it's tough to pick up at times. So if you got a guy who throws good hard strikes, it's tough to get him because the ball's moving. If you get guys who throw easy strikes, like Dick Ruthin was easy to work. He was always around the plate, but nothing difficult to call. Steve Carlton was tough. He had the inside slider that broke right down to the inside part of the plate on the right-hand hitter, and you get a catcher that comes up on you, it's tough to see. Like Tim McCarver, in his older days, on his way out, he would come up on you, those pitches, you couldn't see that pitch. But other than that, Timmy was a great catcher. I'm only kidding you, Timmy. But if you get a catcher that comes up on you, a guy like Steve pitching, he couldn't see the inside part of the plate, so therefore it makes it tougher for the umpire to call the pitches.
We're talking with Eric Gregg. We'll be back in just a moment, right after this message from Nat West Banks. And understand that he's watching this show, and of course he is one of the great umpires of all time, and he said that the new rule is the game is suspended from this point on if it's not resumed.
That's why we call him the Lord, and that's why he makes an extra $10,000 a year, because he's a crew chief, one of the best ones. He's right. It's a suspended game. We pick it up from the point, so we won't have to wait 8 hours for this one tonight.
Well, what is the rule? You have to wait an hour and 15 minutes? Is that?
It's usually hour 45 to an hour 15 the second one. That's what it is.
Is that in the rules, or?
That's in the National League manual.
Okay.
In the regular rule book for minor leagues, it's 30 minutes.
Now, everybody says the strike zone is different in the American League, and the National League has been denied. It's supposed to be the same, et cetera, and et cetera. In the old days of the outside chest protectors in the American League, they were high ball umpires and not so much low ball. Well, what is the difference?
People get confused with that. The strike zone was always really the same, but the American League had a tendency to call a higher strike because, like you said, they wore the outside protector, which we call the balloon.
Right.
And when you work that protector, you work square off behind the catcher, and you have a tendency to work higher. Therefore, you call the higher strike. In the National League, we always wore the inside protector. We always work in the slot. Therefore, some guys work on their knees. Some guy works a lot lower, like myself and Doug, and therefore you call a lower strike. But now the balloon protector in the American League is phased out. Nobody's wearing that protector anymore. Everybody's wearing the inside. Therefore, we should be a unit as far as calling the same pitches. But nobody's the same. Every umpire has his own strike zone. The main thing is being consistent. In the American League, they have a habit of having more breaking stuff, and they throw a lot of curveballs. Therefore, they have a lot of higher strikes called because they continue to throw high pitches. In our league, they throw a lot of heat down, and we tend to call it a lot of low pitches.
The last man, I think, to wear the balloon in the National League was the late Jocko Conlon, who's in the Hall of Fame. He wore it, I remember, a few years back.
That was a lot of years back. I don't remember that at all, but that was a lot of years back.
You don't remember that?
I don't remember that at all. I never saw a National League umpire wear a balloon. No.
Well, I remember when of course, I was playing a few years ago, but Beans Worden used to use the balloon, and Jocko Conlon had the balloon, but not many in the National League. They used to wear that. Incidentally, Eric Gregg is back from Duke University and has lost 8 pounds?
62 pounds.
62 pounds. This is not his actual size now. He's got that chest protector on underneath there. So he does have the chest protector on underneath, which is what they now wear in the baseball.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because people out there like Mr. White are watching me and saying I look like a little heavy, So I feel pretty good, and my blood pressure's down, and it's a super program, and anybody with a weight problem, I would definitely recommend it to them.
Well, I've had some great umpires. Of course, one of the umpires that's in the Hall of Fame, Al Barlick, who umpired when I was playing baseball. And who's your idol as an umpire? Did you grow up watching someone you liked especially?
When I was a kid in Philadelphia, we only got National League games, and Shaq Crawford was my idol. He just did everything well. He had good actions, just looked good. I mean, and when I got cut from my baseball team, my coach said, hey, if you can't play for West Philadelphia High School, there's no way in hell you're going to play for the Philadelphia Phillies. So I started umpiring. I watched Shaq on TV, and I said to myself, gee, maybe I can do this someday. Then I turned the channel, and we had the game of the week, and I saw Emmett Ashford, and I said, wow, they have black umpires doing it. So now I knew I had a chance I could do this. I went away to school, #1 in my class. 5 years later, I'm in the big leagues.
Isn't that great? Emmett Ashford used to umpire the games that we played in wintertime. I was raised in Southern California, and we used to play what they called the Negro League players. In those days, black players that played. And Emmett Ashford was the umpire in most of those games. Of course, he was a showman and a colorful type umpire, and he really did break the line, didn't he?
He certainly was. He was a pioneer, and '66 was his first year. And then we had Art Williams in '73. then yours truly came up at 75. So, you know, people always tell me about we have a lack of black managers. There's been more black managers in Major League Baseball than there have been black umpires.
Is there a reason for that? I mean, how many people want to be an umpire, first of all?
The average black kid wants to be a Michael Jordan or Willie Mays or Dr. Gooden. I mean, the average black kid does not want to be an umpire. And hopefully someday, if my book does very well like we hope to, when they see me on TV, maybe we get more kids out there who want to become an Eric Gregg. You never know.
Well, the salary rate has gone up considerably since in the last, what, 12 years?
Since 1979. We were second-class citizens. Along came Richie Phillips. He took us. He put us on the map, no doubt about it. Unfortunately, we had to go on strike to get the monies we deserved. But now our top guy is making 105. A guy like Doug Harvey, which sounds great, but it's nothing. A guy going his 30th year, he should be making 200,000. So next year we got new contracts all across the board. I don't know what we're going to ask for, but we're definitely going to ask for increase for guys like that. With 30 years, he should be compensated more from being away from his family.
Well, Fay Vincent, the commissioner of baseball, just said the other day that umpires should be compensated much more.
No doubt about it. We know we shouldn't make the money the players make. We're not asking for that. We know that people don't pay to come see umpires, but we also know they have a big pie out there, and just give us a slice of it.
One of the things that I always wondered about umpiring was that every fourth day you're behind home plate. They give you 3 days to rest up from the foul tips, I guess. Do you anticipate? Do you have any compunctions about going behind home plate?
Well, you know, a lot of guys get nervous, but I should say to my own parts, listen, I'm one of the worst. Before a plate job, I don't say a word. And they're probably in the locker room laughing at me now because I'm talking, and I'm hopefully this game won't continue because I'm the nervous guy in the world. I come in the locker room, I don't want the radio on, I don't want to sing any talking. My kids here, I'll tell them to shut up and go sit in the corner. I'm very nervous before a game. Not because I'm scared, just that I'm trying to prepare myself to do the best I can. Some guys come in like it's nothing. Frank Pulley comes in, he waits the last 10 minutes, get dressed, he's on the field. Jerry acts like it's no big deal. The Chief, Doug Harvey, acts like it's no big deal. But I know inside every umpire prepares himself differently for working the plate because working the plate is showtime. It's a lot of pressure, and every pitch can be the game.
Well, you're talking about 300 pitches or more.
No doubt about it. And, you know, nobody says a word the first 6 innings. All of a sudden, now you got a 1-1 ball game, and now all hell can break loose on one pitch. So you really got to bear it out.
It is a tough job. There's no doubt about it. Once again, the name of your book and
Working the Plate, the Eric Gregg Story by Marty Appel and by William Merle. My publisher.
Well, we really wish you luck on the sale of that book, and then congratulations on losing the weight, and keep it off.
Thank you very much for having me here.
All right, Eric, great to be with you.
Thank you.
Eric Gregg, one of the great guys in this game, and we'll return in just a moment right after this message from Mitsubishi Motors.
Well, the bullpen for the Reds, 17-9 this year, 26 saves. They have an outstanding and very deep bullpen.
And Chris Sable taking over at third in a double switch to put Sable in the 9th batting position in the batting order. Dibble, of course, brought in, and he is the strikeout king. He has struck out 69 in 44 innings pitched. And he has averaged 14.1 strikeouts per 9 innings. And that's what they're looking for here with Kevin McReynolds, the batter.
Darryl Strawberry on that last play, really moving it down the first baseline. And you got to remember that these players really didn't have a lot of chance to loosen up. There's no place to run in the dugout area, and the field was wet. The tarp was on the field. So Strawberry really busting it down to first base and partially causing the error by Mariano Duncan.
So Dibble, the man who is looking for the strikeout. Mets have the go-ahead run at third base with 1 man out. And Jackson pounding on the back of the dugout there as he was taken out of the ball game after the error by Duncan, the second baseman. And Dibble with that 100-mile-an-hour heat, and he misses with his first pitch for ball 1. Dibble has been clocked at 100 miles an hour, which would be the fastest or hardest throwing pitcher in Major League Baseball today.
I think it's safe to say that Dibble doesn't nibble.
He just powers it in there, and the 1-0 pitch, and it's high for ball 2 and no place to put him.
That unusual leg kick, he generates a lot of power with that high leg kick. Rob Dibble from Bridgeport, Connecticut.
2 balls, no strikes to count. Infield at double play depth, and the pitch is hit down the right field side, but it's foul. So it will be a 2-ball, 1-strike count. Jackson sitting there patiently after pounding on the back of the dugout with that glove, leaving the ball game. It was his 2 walks that got Cincinnati in this jam. And then the error by Duncan to make it a bases-loaded situation. Carry on the runner at third base. Jeffries the runner at second. Strawberry the runner at first. So 2-1 the count to Kevin McReynolds. And the fastball hit in the air to center field. It's deep enough to score a run. Eric Davis is under it. Tagged up at second is Jeffries. Coming in from third is Carrion. The throw to third base not in time. And the Mets take the lead by a score of 2-1 on the sacrifice fly by Kevin McReynolds. That run is unearned, and the 2 runs the Mets have in this game are unearned runs, but they're leading by a score of 2-1.
Both of the errors made in this game, both by Cincinnati, have been costly. Kevin McReynolds lifts it deep enough to Eric Davis in center field. And Carrion scores easily. 2-1 Mets.
Oh, now runners at first and third with Mike Marshall the batter. Marshall is 0 for 2. And his first pitch, a breaking ball at strike 1. Jeff Innis, throwing in the bullpen for the New York Mets, has completed his warm-up, so he will probably be the new pitcher for the Mets.
And Del Innis, a good player for a long time with the Phillies, wasn't he?
Outstanding player.
He could hit.
He had that home run power. 1 strike the count. And again, a breaking ball for strike 2. Of course, Del Innis spelled his name with an E and not an I.
Yeah, right.
Ron Downey now the pitcher, a record on the plus side of this game. And on the losing side is Danny Jackson. On deck batter Kevin Elster, who drove in the first run for the Mets in the second. So Jeff Reed talking to his pitcher, Rob Dibble. Paid crowd here at the start of the ball game, 42,097. Total in the house, 43,837. And a lot of those people have left because of the long rain delay. It's still a lot here. 2 strikes to count. And the fastball in tight, fouled back out of play. And Marshall almost got his hand sawed off in that one.
I bet you that ball didn't hit 2 or 3 inches above his hands. That was close. Here it is. Let's take a look at it. Mike examining his bat for hairline fractures. Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, that 2 or 3 inches right above the right hand of Marshall.
That's got to be a great piece of wood he has for a bat that didn't break.
Really?
Now again, the 2-strike pitch and a fastball and a strikeout. So Dibble strikes out Marshall on a blazing fastball, but the Mets get 1 run without the aid of a base hit. 1 error, the run was unearned, and 2 men were left on base to score. At the end of 6, the Mets 2. And the pitches that Marshall got in his sequence of being struck out. It's a hard slider right there for strike 1. Now the fastball in tight, foul ball back out of play with a blazing fastball. And then Dibble back again with another blazing fastball to strike out Marshall to end the inning. But the Mets getting a run and leading now by a score of 2-1, top of the 7th inning. Magadan going in the ball game, and he'll bat 9th in the batting order. He has taken over Marshall's place at first base, and Jeff Innis, a new pitcher for the Mets, and he'll bat in Marshall's batting position number 6. Innis 1-1 with 1 save, an earned run average of 3.38. He's walked 4, struck out 3, given up 7 hits and 8 innings of work. And as we go to the top of the 7th, once again, here's Tim McCarver.
All right, Ralph, thanks a lot. Jeff Reed leads it off for Cincinnati. 2-1 ball game. Mets on top. Top of the 7th inning. The game delayed an hour and 40 minutes by rain, and the fastball is high to Jeff Reed, who is 0 for 1. He walked in the 5th and grounded to second. Fastball for a strike on the corner, 1-1. Pittsburgh is winning their game in San Francisco, the bottom of the 5th inning with the Giants hitting 7-4 Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh entering today's action a game in front of the New York Mets. Ground ball towards short. Elster, high chop, and he gets Reed. A nice play by Magadan on the back end, 1 out.
Well, nice fielding play by Magadan as he takes the ball thrown in the dirt. Magadan made his first error of the year yesterday when he dropped a foul ball. He has done a good job defensively as he picks that one and 1 away, and that'll bring up Sabo, who has taken over at third base.
The double switch made by manager Lou Piniella in the bottom of the 6th inning. Sabo with 4 Ks yesterday wanted to bunt, and he takes ball 1. Jeff Innis. Facing Chris Sabo. Spuds, teammates call him, and he taps it foul, 1-1. I was talking to Jeff before the game down in the Mets locker room, and Innis told me that when he went back to Tidewater, he worked on an upshoot. How long's it been, Ralph, since you've heard that term, an upshoot?
I haven't heard that in years, but we used to call it an inshoot. That's a backup fastball. Years ago, upshoot, I don't know.
Well, it's upshoot. He said it's got a slider spin. It's very tight. It's 2 balls and a strike to Sabo, by the way. And the ball actually goes up. You remember the curveball that Ted Abernathy used to throw? That's a fastball there, and it's fouled back, 2-2. Jeff was saying he uses it primarily to left-handed hitters. He's very wild with it. And, you know, that mysterious pitch, we were talking about it in Jeff's last outing last week. And we didn't know what it was. And I thought, boy, I gotta add, there's something different about that pitch. He uses it primarily to left-handed batters. He's very wild with it, to the point where he was afraid to throw it down in Tidewater because he was afraid he might hit somebody with it. There it was. That was it right there.
And he missed with it, but the action on this ball is sort of coming from down under and going up, as you can see it right there, as opposed to a flat slider that he used to throw.
That's exactly right. 3-2 to Sabo, and he fouls it off. Check it out one more time.
He drops down under like this, and then he has to snap his wrist like a curveball to get enough spin to make the ball work up.
You may or may not know that when you throw a ball from that angle, the ball can't go down if it's a breaking ball. It has to stay on a level plane. Fly ball left field. McReynolds in. An easy play for Kevin. He splish splashes, 2 outs.
Oh, that field is really heavy with water.
Left fielder, Billy Hatcher.
Today at Comiskey Park, Andy Hawkins has a no-hitter through 8 innings, but look at that. The White Sox winning 4-0.
Very questionable decision by the official scorer there on the no-hitter.
Hatcher grounds to second, an easy inning for Innis. We'll talk to you about that no-hitter and try to get the last pitcher who pitched a no-hitter in a losing cause. We think it's Ken Johnson. We'll see.
It is Ken.
GE score of Danny Jackson, and Elster takes a slider that's high. And our walking encyclopedia, I think, has word on that losing no-hitter in the last time it was thrown.
Back in April of 1964, April 23rd. And we just understand that Andy Hawkins got the no-hitter, but he lost the game by a score of 4-0. But Ken Johnson back in 1964, pitching for the Colt 45, now the Houston Astros, lost to Cincinnati, and he became the first man in Major League history to lose a complete game no-hitter in 9 innings.
Numero dos is Andy Hawkins.
And Joe Nuxel, who's right here in this ballpark, won the game 1-0. Rose reached second on Johnson's error on a bunt. That was the pitcher, Ken Johnson. Went to third on the ground out and scored on an error by Nellie Fox.
How about that? Elster swinging 3-0. He may have swung at ball 4. It's 3-1 to Kevin. So the 5th no-hitter of the year has been pitched. On Friday night, you'll remember Dave Stewart of the Athletics and Fernando Valenzuela of the Dodgers. Earlier in the year, Randy Johnson of the Seattle Mariners and Nolan Ryan of the Texas Rangers. Good slider gets Elster. Scoreboard had 3-0. It was actually 2-1 when Elster swung. So Kevin, a strikeout victim, the second by Rob Dibble.
Well, it's the bottom of the 7th. A lucky fan can win $100 and a chance for a $10,000 bonus from Budweiser as a designated Bud batter. Stay tuned for details at the end of the game.
I wonder if there have ever been 3 no-hitters in 3 days. Fastball inside to Orlando Mercado.
We were talking about a questionable decision by the scorer. The ball was hit down to Flower, the third baseman of the Yankees. Mike Flowers. And he tried to backhand the ball. It was a very difficult chance, and it could have been scored a base hit, but the official scorer scored it an error. It was a very questionable either side, either way decision.
Yeah, we were watching it in the press room, and I think it was initially scored a hit. Stump Merrill, the Yankee manager, and Billy Connors, their pitching coach, looking up at the official score. He eventually changed it to an error as Sabo makes the catch on the fly by Mercado. There are 2 outs here in the 7th inning.
On the Nissan National League scoreboard, Philadelphia defeated Houston 8-4. Montreal defeated Atlanta 5-1. Pittsburgh leading San Francisco 6-4 in the top of the 5th. San Diego 4, Chicago 1. Top of the 3rd, St. Louis against the Dodgers, no score getting underway.
That's got to be the first no-hitter by a Yankees pitcher since July 4th, 1983, when Dave Righetti pitched a no-hitter. I think against the Texas Rangers. But it might have been the Boston Red Sox. We'll try to check on that. It was the Boston Red Sox, we understand. And before that, Don Larson's perfect game in the 1956 World Series was the last Yankee no-hitter. Fastball for a strike to Dave Magadan, 1-1 today. John Franco now, who's well rested, is up and throwing for the Mets. 2-1, New York on top. We're in the bottom of the 7th inning. Dibble is breezing. 71 strikeouts this year as you look at Howard Johnson on deck. 71 strikeouts for Dibble, 141 last year, 10 away from the record set by a reliever when Goose Gossage had 151 strikeouts and 133 innings for the White Sox in '72. Ball and 2 strikes to Dave Magadan. 2-2. Fly ball, deep left. Back is Hatcher, and what a play by Billy Hatcher, the left fielder. A remarkable over-the-head catch by Billy Hatcher. My goodness, what a play. Woo! We'll show it to you when we come back. 2-1 Mets after 7. We're back after this from the New Jersey Bell Yellow Pages. Brother.
This is as good as you can do. It can't be done any better than this. Not only is he tracking through water all the way, but he has to reach up over the back and catch the ball as it comes over his head. That's one of the great catches you'll ever see, and then he crashes into the fence and hangs onto the ball.
Oh, baby.
Billy Hatcher.
Now pitching, batting 8th, number 31, John Franco.
Well, it certainly would have been a double for Magadan. Probably a triple, and if the ball caroms wrong, it could have been an inside the park home run. Who knows?
So the Mets still leading by a score of 2-1. They bring in John Franco here in the 8th inning. He has a record of 3-0, an earned run average of 1.71. He's walked 7, struck out 27, given up 26 hits, 2 of them home runs, and he has pitched 31 2/3 innings with 14 saves. He has worked in this series 1 time, working 1 2/3 to pick up his 14th save. He gave up no runs allowed, 3 hits, while striking out 1.
That is the only time this year that Franco has faced his ex-mates. Mackay Sasser now is in the ball game. So you can pencil in if you're keeping score at home. You are tenacious, by the way, if you're doing so. John Franco will bat in the number 8 hole. That means Orlando Mercado's out of there.
Might even be straight up, Tim.
Yeah, it might be. It might be. Well, I would say Sasser would hit 6.
You got it.
I would say Sasser would hit 6.
That is exactly where he's hitting, 6th.
Jeff Innis, when he entered the game, he was put in the 6 hole. So anyway, Barry Larkin is the batter, and strike 1 to Barry. On the afternoon, he is 0 for 2. He was hit by a pitch and scored the only run of the game for the Reds in the 6th inning. 2-1 Mets. 1-1 to Larkin. Lou Piniella, first year of a 3-year contract, has the Reds rolling. Fly ball, shallow center. Jeffries out, Strawberry in. It's Strawberry who can't get to it. Oh boy. Strawberry coming from the deepest part of right field, called off everybody and then dropped the ball.
That should have been the center fielder's ball.
Should have been anybody's but Strawberry.
That's right. He's the last man that should try, but he was hustling. You can't take that away from him. But this play can be made by Jeffries, but he's run off by Strawberry, but Carrion should have been under this ball.
Center fielder is your captain.
I mean, that's really a mess up there. And a bad one, a leadoff batter in the inning. Jeffries could have caught it. Carrion could have caught it. Strawberry can't catch it, and he's the man that made the try.
Out of nowhere trying for it. Somebody ran off Jeffries. It's certainly not Greg's fault. There's some plays where it's not the fault of anybody, but I'm like you, Ralph. I think the fault lies with Mark Carrion. A ball and no strikes to Eric Davis, who is 0 for 3, but very dangerous. 7 home runs in his last 14 games.
They're scoring that as a 2-base hit.
Low, ball 2. There's a strike, 2 balls and a strike. Franco has to keep the ball down to be effective. Eric Davis, a deadly low ball hitter, with Paul O'Neill on deck. 2-1 Mets. Potential tying run at second with nobody out. That ball had some downward movement on it, 2-2. Got him. 1 out. Big out.
Third time that Davis has struck out in this series, and the 8th time, I should say, in this game, and the 8th time in this series. And there's a downward movement on the sinking fastball. And he comes right back again with that same pitch. Gets the same action, and Davis not even close.
Boy, that ball is really good. It's like a dry spitter he's throwing.
That's right.
O'Neill now is 0 for 2. He has walked, and he takes a strike. 0-1 to Paul. No balls, 2 strikes to Paul O'Neill with 1 out and 1 on here in the 8th. The New York Mets 2, the Cincinnati Reds 1. A game delayed an hour and 40 minutes by rain.
Got to pay attention to Larkin at second base. He can steal third.
And he wanted to go, and a ground ball is hit to short, and Elster throws out O'Neill. Ralph, you had that read perfectly. I'll tell you, you could see it in Larkin's stride off second base.
He made that move, but it was a perfect time to go as far as having only 1 out to get over to third where he could score on an out. And on this pitch to O'Neill fooled totally, but Larkin made the break toward third. Elster right there and coming up with the throw to first for the second out of the inning. That's another big out.
I'll tell you, had he been running and that same type ball hit, he may have rounded third and tried to score on that play. As Ken Griffey takes strike 1, 0-1 to Kenny. Larkin at third, 2 outs now. Griffey has driven in the only Reds run of the game of the double in the 6th. No balls, 2 strikes. He has been a professional hitter throughout his career, as you see. To Griffey.
You got to be careful here if you're John Franco. Doug Harvey called a balk on him with a runner at third that cost him before, and another chance right here. He's not stopping very much. I mean, it's a very short stop.
Called it with the bases loaded back on April 21st against the Expos. He went too far. Strikeout number 2 for Franco, and that'll retire the Reds here in the 8th inning. Well, you talk about picking your teammates up. A leadoff double that should have been caught. And the Reds go down with nary a whimper. After 7.5, it's 2-1 New York, and we're back after this from American Express. At the bottom of the 8th inning. Hojo leading off again, and he swings and misses at the slider from Rob Dibble. Howard, 1 for 3 on the afternoon. He did steal his 15th base of the year after singling in the 3rd. 2-1 New York. Sometimes the drama of the game is kind of interrupted with the rain delay. Not this game, though.
Boy, it picked up where it left off, didn't it?
1-1 to Johnson. Mark Carrion on deck. Low, ball 2, 2 balls and 1 strike to Johnson. Terrific job by John Franco in the top of the inning. A leadoff double that was misplayed by Carrion, Strawberry, and Jeffries in the top of the 8th. Slider grounded foul, 2-2. Then Franco came back. He struck out the dangerous Eric Davis. He got Paul O'Neill on a grounder to short, and then he struck out Ken Griffey.
Back on May 4th of '89, Howard Johnson hit a 10th inning leadoff home run against Dibble to win a ball game 5-4 against him. It gave Dibble's first loss that year.
.58-foot slider there. So it's 3-2 to Howard Johnson. Jeff Musselman, the left-hander. Wally Whitehurst, the right-hander. You'll see a bullpen coach occasionally do this with his pitchers. With the short man Franco in there, those pitchers won't be called upon, so they get up there to get their throwing in. Unless, of course, Cincinnati ties it, and they're called upon to pitch in extra innings. Hojo went too far. That's the third strikeout for Rob Dibble. 1 out here in the 8th inning.
And checking out the American Express financial update for the week. Weekly report, the Dow Jones up 23.5, S&P up 259, gold is up $8, and silver is up 4.7 cents.
Carry on now. No balls, 1 strike to Mark, who is 0 for 2 with a walk and a run scored in the 6th inning. He walked. Jeffries walked with 1 out in the 6th. Then the rains came for an hour and 40 minutes. Upon returning, Strawberry in the big play of the game, an error by Mariano Duncan. Speaking of Duncan, that's exactly what Carry-On does. He dunks one in front of Eric Davis. And he's on with 1 out.
And let's check out the Nissan America League scoreboard. Boston big over Texas 15-4. Toronto defeated Oakland 4-3. Cleveland 5, California 3 of final. And a no-hitter pitched by Andy Hawkins, but he lost it 4-0 to the Chicago White Sox. Detroit 9, Kansas City 4, bottom of the 9th. Seattle 2, Milwaukee 1, bottom of the 3rd. Baltimore and Minnesota tonight.
3 Yankee errors in the bottom of the 8th inning. And the Athletics losing, so now the White Sox and the Athletics, I guess the White Sox go a half a game up on Oakland. I think that's right.
They started a game back.
Game back, so they're tied. White Sox may be in first place by percentage points.
Yes. Little seesaw there. Pittsburgh leading San Francisco 7-4 in that game in the bottom of the 5th inning.
Montreal won their game 5-1 over Atlanta, so the Expos won't lose any ground. Mets trying to hang on here at Shea. Strike 1 to Jeffries. It's 2-1 New York here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Good cut on that one. No balls, 2 strikes to Jeffries. Oh, and 2, 1 out. Mark Carry-On the batter. I beg your pardon, Mark Carry-On first and Greg Jeffries the batter. Fly ball shallow left. In is Hatcher. And he makes the play. So there are 2 outs now. Folks, the MetLife Met of the Month for June, none other than Dave Magadan. What a month he had. Presenting the award before the game tonight, Tony Trainey, Vice President for MetLife. In the month of June, we'll tell you what Dave did. 35 for 87, a .402 average with 2 home runs and 17 RBIs. So our congratulations to Dave Magadan, the MetLife Met of the Month. A guy he just edged out is batting now, Darryl Strawberry. Straw 0 for 3, and he takes ball 1. We talked about that key error, Strawberry reaching first to load the bases with 1 out, and then Carry-On driven in by Kevin McReynolds on a sacrifice fly. 2-1 New York. Ball 2 to Darryl, 2-0. Change, nice play by Jeff Reed. 3 balls and no strikes. Strawberry not the type of hitter that likes to hit 3-0. We'll see if he's swinging. McReynolds on deck. John Franco trying to save it for Ron Darling. Jeff Innis a strong inning in the 7th, retiring the Reds 1-2-3. Slider on the 3-0 count. That's the respect that Darryl gets, and that'll bring up Kevin McReynolds, the right-handed batter.
Left-hander Kevin McReynolds.
Carry on at second, Strawberry at first. McReynolds has scored a run, the first run of the game, and he drove in the go-ahead run for the Mets back in the 6th with a sac fly. 0 for 2, but a productive day for McReynolds. 2-1 New York. Ball 1. McReynolds 2-0. Lou Piniella has removed his hat and put it back on no fewer than 1,300 times in this game. 2 balls and a strike to McReynolds. I love to watch the habits of the players in the dugouts and the managers and going to the water cooler and chomping on gum and removing the hats. Strike 2, outside corner, 2-2 to McReynolds.
It's like Pinella's a hat man rather than a water cooler man.
Or a gum chomper.
There goes the hat now.
Slider just misses. Dibble wanted it. Greg didn't give it. 3-2 to McReynolds.
Dibble has a little bit of a short fuse.
Ha!
Here's that pitch. It's outside. He wanted the pitch. He was suspended for throwing a bat on top of the batting screen back at home plate last year.
His fuse is recessed. McReynolds down on strikes. A nasty slider on the 3-2 count gets McReynolds. 4 strikeouts for Dibble, but the Mets still lead 2-1 after 8. We're back after this from Nike Sneakers.
No one on, top of the ninth. Mets 4, Cubs nothing. Jim Quayle singles to left center field. It broke up 8 in the 3rd innings of no-hit ball by Tom Seaver. Seaver struck out 11 in that game and had to settle for a 1-hitter. The final score, the Mets 4, the Cubs nothing. And remember, nobody beats the Wiz.
The Chicago White Sox over the New York Yankees today. In a losing cause, Andy Hawkins pitched a no-hitter. 4 runs scored by the White Sox in the bottom of the 8th. 3 innings, 3 errors committed in that inning. And Glenn Braggs, over from the Milwaukee Brewers, will pinch hit against Franco, pinch hitting for Rob Dibble here in the 9th. It's 2-1 New York. Braggs has done a good job since being obtained by the Reds last month, early last month, for Ron Robinson. 1-1 to the powerful Glenn Braggs. He could tie it up with 1 swing. Very strong. Outside, ball 2, 2-1. Fly ball, right field, Strawberry there. 1 out.
Well, after every game this season, points will be awarded to Met pitchers for the AT&T Long Distance Award. Here's how it works. Every inning you pitch, you get a point. We'll also add in the fractions. If a pitcher is credited with a complete game, he gets a bonus point. At the end of the season, the man on top will win the AT&T Long Distance Award, and right at this point, Viola on top.
No balls, 1 strike to Mariano Duncan. We understand that Jimmy Leyritz, that's right, Mike Blowers and Jesse Barfield committed those 3 errors, and Andy Hawkins no-hitter in a losing cause. Ball 1 to Duncan, 1-1. Only 4 hits for the Reds, only 4 hits for the Mets. 2 costly errors by the Cincinnati Reds that have led to both Mets runs. One by Duncan, and the other by third baseman Luis Quinones. Ground ball, base hit to right field. So Duncan, a 1-out base runner here in the 9th, with the Mets leading by a run.
Ladies and gentlemen, batting for Jeff Reed, number 9, Joe Oliver.
You know, we talked about the Mets being unified, and they certainly have under Buddy Harrelson after taking over back in late May, playing terrific ball, 21-8 under Harrelson. Guess it's kind of a perfect time to have racial unity in the city of New York. Mayor Dinkins will have that night, and that's the little unity button and ribbon that will be worn Tuesday night by fans attending the ball game. It's 1-0 to Joe Oliver, who is pinch hitting for Jeff Reed.
Had a big pinch hit double in yesterday's victory for the Cincinnati Reds. Incidentally, all fans attending that July 3rd game against the Astros, and they're asking that you wear some sort of an article of blue clothing of some kind, of shirt, a hat, jacket, a sweatshirt. They'll also be handing out unity buttons at the stadium gates.
1 ball, no strikes to Joe Oliver. 2-1 Mets. Franco trying to save it for Darling. Darling went 6 innings and pitched very, very well. Duncan, a threat to run. He has 9 stolen bases and has not been caught. 1 stolen base in this game. Third time in a row Franco has thrown over. I believe Norm Charleston is warming up for the Reds. It's a left-hander. It's either Charlton or Myers. I think it's Charlton. Yep, it's Norm. Ball and no strikes to Joe Oliver. Line, left center field. McReynolds will try to cut it off. He bobbles it. Duncan is going to try to score. The throw home is dropped by Jeffries, and it's a tie ball game. Greg Jeffries dropped the throw from McReynolds, and we may have 2 errors on that play. We'll see.
Well, the Cincinnati Reds and their pinch hitters, unbelievable, hitting over 300 as pinch hitters. And Oliver, for the 2nd consecutive day, comes up with a clutch pinch hit. A double yesterday to give the Reds the go-ahead in a game they won. And, of course, it's tough going out there for McReynolds. His throw in to Jeffries. And on the play, Duncan going all the way from first to come in to score the tying run. And now the go-ahead run is at second, as you see Duncan score, and the ball dropped by Jeffries.
Jeffries would have had a play on Duncan. And now, for some strange reason, with the potential go-ahead run at second, Sabo wants to bunt.
Wow.
Wow is right. A ball and no strikes to Chris Sabo.
Here's a leading hitter on the team as far as home runs are concerned. He's going to bunt for a base hit.
Leaving it up to the next guy. 1-1 to Sabo. 9th inning, tie ball game. Come on.
Now McReynolds' throw goes into second as Oliver tries for second base. And the throw is dropped by Jeffries. He had a play at the plate. I don't know if he knew that the runner was coming around or not.
Looked like he did, Ralph. It looked like he got help from Elster. They have looked up too quickly. Sabo swings and misses. A ball and 2 strikes. 2-2 ball game now. The 3rd blown save opportunity of the year for Franco, but Now he'll try to keep the Reds at bay so the Mets can come back in their half of the ninth. They'll have to do it against Norm Charleston. Fly ball to center field. And Carrion makes the play, so there are now 2 outs. And Billy Hatcher coming up. We talked about there may be 2 errors given on that play. There wasn't even 1 error given on that play.
Not an error at all. I guess they consider the fact that the turf is so wet out there that there was no chance that you could really keep your footing in balance to make the play as you pick the ball up. And then the throw dropped by Jeffries. Official scorer thinking that he would have scored anyway.
Line to Jeffries. So Hatcher lines to Jeffries, but the Reds tie it here in the 9th inning. 1 run on 2 hits. We go to the bottom of the 9th, a 2-2 game. We'll be back.
As McReynolds tries to pick it up, he splashes around, finally gets to it, makes a pretty good throw into Jeffries. Jeffries, though, dropping the ball. And coming in to score on the play is Duncan, coming all the way from first. And that tied up the ball game in the top of the 9th inning. No errors on the play.
And leading off for the Mets, the catcher.
Don't know for sure whether Greg would have had a play, but possibly is Norm Charleston in the game. One of the 3 nasty boys. Randy Myers the other. Rob Dibble did a good job. Pitching 2 2/3 and giving up no runs. Sasser lifts one to left field. In is Billy Hatcher, and he can't get to it. Sasser will go to second base, and Hatcher, who made a spectacular play earlier, cannot catch up to a fly ball by Sasser. Brother.
What a ball game this has been. Sasser on the fastball, bloops it into left field. It's tough running out there, as you can see. And Hatcher can't get to it. It goes for a 2-base hit. So the winning run on second with no one out. And the batter, Kevin Elster.
Valiant try by Hatcher, but he can't catch up to it. And we'll see what Kevin Elster does against Charlton. Now he's bunting. And he takes a fastball inside. He'll try to bunt the ball to Sabo at third, trying to make Sabo field the ball. There you see Sabo in on the grass. Larkin holding against Sasser at second because the second baseman, Duncan, will cover first if the ball's bunted down the first baseline. Bunting. Ball 2.
Right here, they very well could take the bunt off.
Mackay Sasser on second. Chuck Hiller at third base coach, flashing the signs. Nobody out. A 2-2 game here in the 9th. And Tim Tuffle on deck. He's bunting and he pushes it toward third. Griffey will go to third and he throws it away. Sasser scores and the Mets win it 3-2. Elster pushed the ball toward Griffey at first base. Griffey had a play on Sasser. Buddy Harrelson's hands were tied. He couldn't pinch run for Sasser because Sasser had gone into the game for Mercado earlier. So the Mets didn't have a catcher left. Griffey had him nailed and he throws it away. The Mets win it 3-2. How about that? 3-5-0 for the Mets. 2-6-3, and look under that E column because those 3 errors really responsible for the 3 runs the Mets scored. The Mets win it 3-2. Ralph and I will be right back after this from Bud Light.
Frank Byrne of Staten Island, New York. Unfortunately, we didn't have a great 7th, but certainly a great 9th. Sorry, Frank. And try again.
Well, speaking of Budweiser, how about Kevin Elster, who drove in the first run of the game, and then with Mackay Sasser on second base and nobody out, he bunts the ball to Ken Griffey in the bottom of the 9th. Griffey underthrows Chris Sabo at third base, and Mackay Sasser hands a clapping, scores. And the Mets win it 3-2, taking 3 out of 4 from the Cincinnati Reds. They are now 4-3 against Cincinnati this year. And Ralph, this series may have been indeed a preview of October.
Well, it very well could be. Of course, the Cincinnati Reds still have a commanding lead. The Mets have a long way to go. Pittsburgh won their ball game today, so the Mets still 1 game back. But this is the 8th series in a row the Mets have won,
wow.
And they did 3 out of 4 from Cincinnati, which is mighty good.
The Mets now 22-8 under Buddy Harrelson. And we tried to reserve our opinion until later on, but certainly Buddy Harrelson, the change of managers, has done remarkable things for the New York Mets.
I think one of the interesting things in the ball game was having Elster bunt with a runner on second in that spot. I don't know. I doubt if Davey would have, because he sort of would rather see you go the other way. That's speculation and a guess, but I do think that shows you the way Bud wants to play the ball game. He wants to take advantage of the situation and sort of get 1 run at a time.
There's no question about it. Buddy and Davey certainly have different styles in managing. Davey wanting to play for the long ball, and Buddy Harrelson more the running game and the bunting game.
And he's used it extremely well. Of course, the Mets got a few breaks. Maybe Buddy's got a lot of good luck going for him. They scored all 3 of the runs as unearned runs in the game, although the first one I thought should have been scored a base hit when McReynolds was charged with a time at bat when they scored him there on the drive he hit by the third baseman.
Well, the game was delayed 1 hour and 40 minutes. We hope you stayed with us throughout that time, because really the exciting part, the last part, is the Mets win it 3-2, and they stay a game behind the Pittsburgh Pirates.